Mashley Comedy presents
Funny Girl's Guide.
Welcome back, Mandy.
Welcome back.
We're back. Technically the 9th episode, but number 2 since our rebrand. So
Yeah. We hope you guys like the rebrand. We thought long and hard about like what it should look like and how many martini glasses should be on the front of it, you know?
yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Just a moderate amount.
A safe amount of martini glasses, okay?
Okay.
We
so
don't want a hangover.
we don't do hangovers, but we do hats sometimes. I wanted to ask you, Ashley, because I'm wearing this little beanie and I feel like a hat imposter. But when Ashley wears a hat, you look like a model.
Oh my gosh, stop, please.
It's
this
true.
Is a good look. So Mandy and I are actually going to a workout right after this. So we're in our like workout gear. Mandy looks incredible in this beanie. This is like a really good look. Like it's a white beanie. It's got a little poof on the top. Like you look like a little winter wonderland angel.
Well, thank you. Oh my God, that's so sweet. I do feel like I have hat imposter syndrome, but I realized like on day 4 of not washing your hair, it's like, what's worse? I get like a cowlick in the back of my head if my hair is greasy, even if I use dry shampoo, even if I use the good stuff.
This is a good look though. I like this. I stray away from beanies because I look like one of the wet bandits from Home Alone. And so I'm like, we're just going to ditch the beanie, but I am a big fedora person. And this is actually a big accomplishment. I was digging through some old purses, COVID, you're going through all of the crap in your house. And I have a punch card for Gorin Brothers, which is a hat store. And I have a free hat waiting for me. That's how many hats I've bought.
That's really cute. Can we please make an outing and go down to South Congress and
Yes.
That's where it's
Find
at.
my
Right?
hat. Yeah, find my hat.
Build a hat hunt for you.
Yeah, it has to be up to $100. So that's my punch card. It's up to $100, which I know, I don't want to say how much I've spent on hats. I mean, that's like half of a nice hat, but we'll see.
So wait, how many punches are on the thing? Like 10? I think we can figure it out. Oh, wow. Chase, don't listen to this episode.
A lot of hats. I have a wall, my bedroom, I put up like hooks. There's a wall in my bedroom that is just hats. It's like a collage of hats. It's a thing.
I think you need to like take a picture for us and show us, and then we're gonna go on an adventure.
And then we're going
find your next hat.
And speaking of adventures, we are saying yes to changes and new things. And we have a very special guest this episode because we're going to be digging into art therapy, but then also tarot and numerology, all the fun things, witchy things.
Yeah, we pre-recorded this episode and it was really inspiring. And with a friend of mine that I've known since I was 17, so we've known each other for 17 years. And wow, I think we both just left feeling light and bright and excited for 2021.
I'm excited. I'm ready for big changes and I'm ready to just say yes to the possibilities.
Yeah, embracing everything that it can be, manifesting all the good things and then rippling out to how it serves the community and not just yourself. I loved that.
I loved it too. Let's jump into it.
Okay, we're here today with Rebecca Pappa, who's an art therapist, witch, and tarot reader, and she is bringing visual stimulation and inspiration to all of us on her Instagram at the Dreamers Daily Tonic. And welcome, Becky.
Hi, thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, so is it Becky or Rebecca? Because when we were in college, it was Becky. Do you go by your formal name now?
It's actually interesting. So I am Rebecca to any of my clients are listening to this, to all of my clients. And Becky is like my at-home name. So with my, family people, it was a boundary that I created for myself. So you are free to call me whichever you please. Becky.
I mean, you're forever Becky in my heart. My like fondest memory. I feel like we were like drunken poets, I feel like is what we were when 17 years ago in Philly, in New Jersey at the beach, Parliament lights and just talking about life until 4:00 in the morning.
Yep. 100%.
Getting in a lot of trouble.
Staring at the ocean, getting all deep and philosophical. Yeah. Well wasted most of the time, unfortunately.
you have to go through that, I feel like, it sort of delivers you to where you are now. And we were talking a little bit before, but I was like, Becky, you've lived 1,000 lives and you live them all so beautifully. Like, you are an inspired soul, and I'm so inspired to see what you're doing now with.
Thank you. I try. I honestly, I get bored too easily. So I really do need to flip to a lot of different things. But as I reflect now on my life, I see how all of those phases have kind of led me to where I am today. And they've all been building on top of one another, which at the time it felt like I was building a house of cards. It wasn't really a firm foundation. But it worked. It was the lessons that I needed to embody.
Which one attracted you first? Were you more attracted to your witchy woman vibes with tarot, or were you in kind of spiritualism, or were you like, I'm really interested in like therapy and how to use art as therapy? Which one, or were they kind of converged?
Sure. Great question. I grew up around very witchy women. My mom is like a radical feminist and poet and therapist, actually. Which happened later in her life. So I was freed from the scarring of the developmental years of a mom as a therapist. But my sisters, I'm the baby in my family, so I'm the youngest by 8 years. And so my sisters and my mom's friends, there were always summer solstice parties. There were always tarot card readers at the house. I remember when I was 11, I'd go into the goddess shop, like the one and only witch store in like rural Pennsylvania where I grew up.
Scranton.
Yes, Scranton.
I mean, everybody knows about Scranton. I feel like we have to name it,
Yes, totally. And Whitney was her name. She owned the goddess shop, and she was someone who really just normalized it for me, because you kind of feel really like the odd one out, especially in Scranton. It is not a place that was very welcoming to creative radicals at that point in time, or women who were interested in that.
No, so you had to listen to like Bruce Springsteen and be sad. That's what you had to do.
Yes, exactly.
At the same time.
You had to be like an alcoholic at like 21 and listen to
Yes. If you're a fan of The Office, imagine like introducing a radical witch feminist character into that cast.
To Jim.
And what would that reaction be?
Exactly like it was though, like you in the friend group, but like you glowed.
Oh, thank you, Mandy. Yeah, it was always a part of me. So that was, always present. And I think I spent a lot of time in my creativity. Always. It's always been my lifeline. And psychology I was always interested in, but honestly, I was really interested in forensic psychology from a young age. My mom tried to take me off course by buying me a book on serial killers. And I like sat there and recounted the stories out loud to my horrified family around the Christmas dinner table. I'll never forget it. They will never forget it. So I was always really interested in what makes a mind shift in that way. And yeah, so they were always kind of in dialogue with one another. And it wasn't until I was in my mid to late 20s when I heard of art therapy. And I was like, this makes so much sense. It's what I've been doing intuitively my whole life, which is when I'm having a really hard moment, I'm journaling. I'm escaping into nature. I'm, getting my hands in the sand. I'm creating something. I'm painting, I'm drawing, whatever it is. That was always so therapeutic to me. So when I found the field, it all kind of clicked. And now in my clinical practice, I introduce tarot with clients that are interested in that as well. So I'm able to kind of be the whole person.
Yeah. And you use tarot not in a predictive kind of way, but sort of in like, what's your next, like turning in, oh my gosh, so sorry, with your intuition. I'll mute myself while you explain.
Okay. Can you ask the question one more time? You said, what's my, I don't use it in a predictive way, but.
The way that you use tarot to sort of tap into the person's like intuition and like your choices, your next choices, and like going with like the flow of your life.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I believe that tarot it's another system for knowing. I get really turned on and really excited when I think about women, men, people all over the world, like becoming the most empowered version of themselves. Like that feels really hot, really attractive to me. And so I think this system is, each card is like a question to me. Each card presents a question for the person that I'm reading for, or if it's in my therapeutic practice, what they see, because it's about you telling your own story. It's about you making your own choices. It's about you answering the questions. And these cards and the system are so rich with art, with visual imagery that holds a lot of information, with the elements that we all exist among: earth, air, fire, water. And all of those things have lessons for us. And so it's a way, I believe, to really start asking ourselves deeper questions, to deepen our experience here. And in that process, that we really uncover and unearth our most powerful self.
Do you have a favorite card? I know that's like kind of a silly question, but it's like, do you
course
have
I
one that's
do.
like, this is me?
Yes. I have two favorite cards, and I think this is kind of telling. Number one is the Star card. Hands down, it's in the major arcana, and it's all about hope and possibility. And it also rules, I'm an Aquarius, and it's the card that rules my birth sign. So I get really inspired in that, and I'm a very dreamy, kind of airy person. And then my other favorite card is the Death card. I know that sounds intense.
But it's changed, right? Like it's always a symbol of like, I think people like see it and they're like, oh my God, but like it's like a mark of like, let's turn this around.
That's right. It's the bridge card, right? It is an ego death. It's a death of an identity that's no longer serving you. So it's like that crack, that first crack in the egg, as something is hatching, that allows you to just kind of step out, and it's uncomfortable, but it's really, really rich and really brings you to a great place, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Something that's so scary for people though is to be like change is so hard for humans to be like open to like changing and flowing and becoming, learning more. It's so hard.
Absolutely. It is. It's really confronting, right? Because we know how we used to do things, and that's comforting, right? Predictability is comforting. But when you take that out, change says we don't know what to expect. And so there's a lot of kind of going in and soothing in order to be open to the expansion that's happening, right? It's hard.
Mm-hmm. It feels like 2021 is going to be so much like good change for people. And you were saying that numerology is something to sort of like dig into for your new year.
Yes, this is one of my favorite practices, favorite times of the year. It's actually the only time I do tarot readings, because I have a full practice of, clinical clients. But the new year, I love doing this. And so I did it for both of you. I did your cards of, of the new year, what to expect. So you basically, I'm just going to give a very quick, simple explanation, if that's okay. If you're not familiar with numerology or the tarot, basically the tarot has the major arcana, and it is the journey. It's also called the Fool's Journey. And so each one of those cards is numbered. And when we use numerology, we first break down like your birth number. So by using your birth date, month, and the year that you were born, we get a number. There are multiple ways to do this. I do the way that I was taught many, 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 many moons ago. Because
you're 11.
Yes, because this is what Whitney said, and Whitney was my teacher, and I believe her. I trust her. And so this is the way that I break it down. And then you add your number to the New Year's number. So we are exiting a 4-year, 2020, right? You can do that math.
Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Goodbye. And we're entering a 5-year. Okay. So that's the premise. It's really funny because Mandy, you're going to die, and Ashley, you are going into rebirth. So
no, the first time we're not in convergence, this is unbelievable.
So it's really interesting. Like you're both kind of going to be supporting each other in that process. But the cards are really interesting. Does anyone want to go first?
Mandy, go, Mandy, go.
Okay.
The death of the old me.
That's right.
What's happening,
That's
isn't
right.
it?
Death is good, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
Your egg is hatching. Okay, so first let me just start off with your birth number is a number 8. Okay. And number 8 is the only number in the tarot system that's kind of up for debate depending on what card system that you use. So it could either be justice or strength. Okay. I use it as the strength card, which means that a theme you will be, or an energy that you will be in for most of your life, and something that you know very intimately, is the strength card is a human typically wrestling a beast of some sort. And it's this inner part of yourself that you constantly are in dialogue with overcoming when you step into new territory. So it's a familiar energy. It's like, maybe I try to block myself because I'm afraid of change. And so then that's something that you really have to kind of do a lot of work around wrestling with. But what it means is probably going to go through a lot of big growth spurts because you're constantly in that place. So that is your birth card. But your number of the year, it first breaks down to 13, which is the death card. Okay, but then we can break that down further to the Emperor. So for you, what I wrote is the great release, the necessary dismemberment of an old identity that is no longer serving you. Okay, so it's going to be a year where you're recognizing, what are the things that I need to break out of? What mask am I taking off? And these are really important questions, especially for anyone that wants to grow, that wants to expand, right? What part of me needs to die in order for me to move forward in this new life? And the fact that that breaks down to the Emperor further is so beautiful, because the Emperor is a 4 card. 4 card is a foundation. It's like you will move through this year dying and then also building a sturdy foundation on top of the ashes from what you just shed, which is so beautiful. And the question that I think this card asks is, how do you embody your inner monarch? What is within you that wants to lead? And can you really sit in that place? Can you build yourself a throne on top of those ashes and really be the full, powerful manifestation of maybe what you see for yourself in this life? And so it's like really setting up for the next phases. It's a look at structure.
I've got goosebumps.
I love that for you, man. We talk about this a lot. We're always talking about we're making big changes in our lives right now. And I love it.
Yeah, it's a really powerful process, and the fact that we're going to be in a 5-year, and this is for everyone who's listening, right? The 5 is ruled by the Hierophant, and the Hierophant is a teacher traditionally, right? And the Hierophant is a card that I think invites us to find our inner teacher. It's a dialogue with our higher self. What are the spiritual practices that really allow us to step forward and evolve? What is, I'm going to use my language because this is what I believe, what is spirit guiding me to know, to learn, because I believe that then that's my duty to echo it out into the world, to expand that forward. So what can we learn from ourselves in this year? Can we spend time meditating on, what we need to grow, and then how that growth might affect our immediate community and then communities at large? Especially for 2 of you who have podcasts. This is like a great year to consider, what you want to learn and how you share that. Or maybe the podcast is your teacher, right? Maybe this platform is your teacher. And that's a really beautiful thing too, to be in dialogue with.
And also just such a great metaphor for 2021, where it's like, we've got a lot to learn from this last year. How are we going to apply this and be better people and a better community and just better everything?
That is right. We needed to burn it down this year. And so it's, how do we learn from this? How do we really continue to carry the things that we had to face this year, and not turn our back on it, but really do the work, really do the work. Mm-hmm. Let the lesson carry forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ashley, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm taking
Well,
notes.
Mandy,
So if
you have
I'm
a
looking
question.
down, please just know I'm in school right now.
I was
I'm like,
taking
okay,
notes
Mandy's
too.
8. Got it. I was like, I'll be looking into that more.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. As you should. Okay. So Ashley, this is a really powerful year for you specifically because your birth number is a number 5. You are a number 5 and we are entering a 5-year. So that is, to me, and I have affirmation chills all over my body as I'm saying this, this is a year of rebirth, right? You're re-entering the same number from under which you are really ruled in numerology and in tarot. So that is such a powerful, powerful time. And when we add those 2 numbers together for you, you also get 2 because it first breaks down into the Wheel of Fortune. And I don't know how familiar you are with this card.
A little bit. So like I've done light tarot. By that I mean like I will like smoke a joint with my friend and like listen to some Enya and then be like, let's see what we can pull. And that's pretty much our extent.
Yes. Okay. Well, you're starting. But the Wheel of Fortune, I really, really like this card too, because it's, it's about chance and it's leaving space for chance, right? And so for me, the question that I kind of channeled when I was looking at this for you is, how do you feel about taking chances? How do you feel about letting those unfold and not being able to control the outcome, not being able to predict the outcome, right? That is, an energy that you're really stepping into this year. It's like, okay, I am learning in a 5-year, but I am also a 5. So I'm really learning more about my own process and how can I maybe think about bigger risks, or how can I accept things that are brought to me that maybe there's an inner voice that says, you can't do that, or, well, we don't know what that might look like. And maybe it's a year to say yes in those experiences and really learn from the uncomfortability of how it plays out.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That one hit close to home more so than I think anything I've ever heard. I'm like,
oh, well, good, because this is for you. What the message meant for you. And then that further breaks down, which is so powerful, into the Magician, which is, the Magician card in imagery is typically depicted, right, with a person holding a wand, receiving, and there are 4 images of the suits around them. So we have all elements present. We have earth, air, water, fire, and someone who's able to be the conduit for those things to move through them in order to create their dreams in reality. It is the ability to ground our dreams in reality. And we don't just sit there and have it arrive, I don't believe, but it is knowing and asking your inner self, what can I tap into right now that will help me do this, right? Knowing that you have all of those inner resources already. You just have to ask. You just have to be in conversation with them. So it's taking action that allows your dreams to hit the ground running. And that is what I would invite you to think about. If this is the dream, or if this chance comes to me, okay, I'm going to say yes. I can't predict it, but I can ask myself, what do I intuitively feel would really guide me, would really help me get this moving forward? And trust your answer. Acknowledge your answer without judgment and show up for it. And that's the work.
Oh my gosh. Wow, I love that. I am historically a control freak where I'm like, I like to have everything like, okay, I know this outcome. I can control this. This is fine. This past year has been insane for everyone. So I'm feeling the like, where are we going? What's going to happen?
Right. It's a really confronting year in that way, especially for someone who really likes to have that structure. And so maybe there will be some great expansion if you are really open to these new energies coming forward for you.
I love that. Well, thank you so much.
I love how excited you get about like helping people be in their personal power, and like you clearly get so excited. So let us share so what's your number and where are you going this year?
Yes. What's going on with you?
Good question. So I am a number 1 birth number. So a magician is my birth number, which, as someone who really values witchery, it feels really amazing.
You're like, this is fitting.
I have to say, like, it's quite affirming for me. I really get off on it. I really love it. But so this year for me is the Lover's Year, which is really interesting. I recently moved out of the city to the Catskills, New York. So big change. I mean, I've been living in New York City for 16 years.
Oh.
So a really long time. And so now I'm in nature. And so for me and my husband, who used to have a lot of access to a lot of other things around us within walking distance, I think it is a year for us to really be together in that way, and an opening of the heart with something. I want to make sure I give her credit because she's an incredibly wise tarot teacher. She also has a podcast. Her teachings are so valuable, and she has a very similar mindset to how I approach tarot. Her name's Lindsay Mack, and she's Tarot for the Wild Soul. But she talks about the Lover's card as the cosmic mirror, and I love that, which is what can we learn about ourselves by really seeing and connecting to another. And so I think that's a really cool energy for me this year. But so we are connecting very differently. There's not much else to do up here but be with one another. So we'll see what that brings. I'm excited to see what that brings me this year.
I feel like that's one of the biggest like purposes of life, is to like true connection with other people, with yourself, with the universe.
Yeah. And I know this is going to sound crazy because I'm married and I've been in a relationship with this human for 11 years, but it's very hard for me to be open and like really open to love and accepting love. I like to kind of approach love in more of a practical way in partnership. And so I do think there's some deep lessons for me in the opening and in the receiving.
I love that. You touched on this a little bit kind of throughout the podcast. I'm a big believer in this. I know Mandy is too. Can we talk about manifesting? And I know you're a believer in this just from the little nuggets you've dropped, but I am a firm believer of like putting it out there in the universe.
And then letting go.
Letting go.
Forget to let go, right? We hold on so tightly. Like
That's true.
And like I feel like I was born knowing like this, and then you sort of like lose it along the way. Because I remember being a kid being like, I want it, and I'm not going to over want it, and let go, and then you get it, right?
Yes.
But
totally.
As you grow.
I'm a big believer in manifestation, and I think that everyone, we are all different, unique beings, right? And so that's going to look different for all of us. And so I'm really wary to kind of subscribe a very specific way to manifest, because I think it's about really touching in with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Envisioning what it feels like for you to be in the receiving of that energy, and also to really be, how do I want to describe this? Like thoughtful manifestors, that we, really consider what that does for others outside of ourselves as well. How we then take that and pay that forward and ripple it outwards. I don't know if you guys do this, but I certainly follow the moon cycles in support of manifestation. Is that something that you do? You pay attention to full moon, new moon?
I'll check in every now and then. So I'm a little bit of a crystal girl, just a little bit. And so like, if there's like a full moon or a special full moon, I'll like, put the crystals out there.
Charge them.
Let them charge them. And then, in the morning I have to like, that's the problem, is you have to wake up very early to be like, get back in here.
Right. Yes, exactly.
I'm a beginner. I'm a total beginner, but I want to be like, I want to learn. Teach me.
Yeah, teach me. Well, first of all, we're doing this podcast like right smack in the middle of a solar eclipse and a new moon. So that's exciting. So today is not the best day to really manifest, because when there's an eclipse happening, there is kind of unpredictable energy that's there. And so you want to wait a few days before you work with that energy. The dogs really get activated when I start talking.
Yeah, the dogs are like, we want to learn more. Tell us, Rebecca.
They're in touch with the moon for sure.
For sure, of course.
And so is my period. Why? Like, why?
Yeah, great question. So there's two. If you get your period, if you are someone who has the benefits of cycling, we cycle with the moon, right?
Yeah.
And if you get your period at the full moon, it says it's a time where you are like really building career. But if you get your period with the new moon, it's a time where you're very fertile. Okay. So fertile, family matters, etc. This is like old school mindsets, but it's cool. I think it's interesting to consider those things. And when we're really in touch with it, what can we learn, right? It's a natural cycle. And so our bodies are in touch with it. And there are times where the energy, I believe, naturally is more supportive of our manifestations, right? So new moon's a great time to release things because it's going to start going away. And then when it gets to the new moon or the dark moon, it's a time where it starts building again. So we want to follow that momentum, right? That's the time when we want to plant seeds, where we really want to be thoughtful and spend time considering what is it that we want to bring to ourselves. And at the full moon, it's what do I need to get rid of? What's in my way? How can I clear the debris, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's helpful.
No, I love that. Let's say you're a novice witch and you're like, I want to get more in tune with my witchy ways. Do you have any resources outside of your Instagram, of course, that you would recommend for people to just kind of like, here's like a nice little stepping stone to get in touch with your witchy ways?
Yes, absolutely. So I already mentioned her once. I'll mention her again because she's great. She talks a lot about this. Lindsay Mack, Tarot for the Wild Soul. She's wonderful. I truly value her words as a teacher. She has a lot of courses you can sign up for. My old local bookshop in Bushwick, Brooklyn, Catland Books. They offer Witching 101 courses. They have some great programs out there. There's always something new that they're teaching you. And another Instagram account, Meaningful Mystic Tarot. Her name is Jen, and she does coaching. She does individual coaching. And I just want to say this quickly because maybe not quickly. I think it's important. It's important to know your lineage, right? Where does your authentic magic line come from, right? We are in an age where I think considering appropriation is very important, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of debts to repay as a country. So we want to really tap into what's authentic to us, not what's authentic to someone else. So for me, I'm Italian. I have a dual citizenship to Italy. The tarot actually originated in Italy. It was an Italian card game.
Really? I didn't realize that. Oh my gosh.
So I have always, maybe that's why I've always felt very connected to it. I'm also Eastern European.
And you've spent a lot of time in Jersey, and people who spend time in Jersey feel really connected to their Italian roots.
It's very true. It's very true. And my husband is also half Italian. And he has like the big Italian family that I never had. So I feel extra connected to that.
So food must be great during the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very
honestly,
jealous.
though, I have to say, my mom, she's Russian and Hungarian, but she is like the best chef, cook, etc. My family really throws it down food-wise.
Wait, your sister's an actual chef, so who wins the title there?
Between my sisters. Okay. My one sister has a food blog. She's a nutritionist. And then my other sister is French Culinary Institute trained chef. So and my brother-in-law, though not like professionally trained, I mean, he makes the best pasta I've ever had.
Oh wait, and Becky, you're a great chef too. I remember we were like 21 years old and you were making this like shrimp and mango avocado salad for the
Yes.
1 year that I ate meat. Like I remember your cooking and like a bottle of white wine. I'm like, you just being the youngest made all of us more sophisticated living with us.
It wasn't an option in my family. Like you think about every meal. Like it is not okay. Honestly, that's our cauldron in the family. You know, we all come around it. We get together, old family recipes. That makes me feel so connected to mine.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I'm sorry, I distracted. Food is my love language, but I love what you said about the appropriation of like, be mindful of where you're coming from. So if you're Celtic, maybe dig into that like mysticism.
What do you get, like a 23andMe? I just ordered one, you guys. Like I'm really excited about it so that you can like really like, I feel like.
Hey, I just saw this in the notes. That's why I was like, have y'all been converging?
Oh, that's so funny. I just ordered, I had my 23andMe done a few months ago, which was so fascinating.
Wait, a couple months. So it's taken that long to get it back? Because I saw for like $400 more, you can get the VIP one. I was like, who would get that? It takes months. Is that why?
No. It only took me like a few weeks, but I've had it for a few months. I've had my results.
Oh, okay.
Which most of it I knew already, but my grandmother, we were really kind of unsure on my dad's side. And it turns out I'm really Scottish, which for me, it makes a lot of sense because I did part of my honeymoon in Scotland. I've always felt super connected to the Scottish. When I was there, the woman who owned this B&B we stayed at was telling me about when you find white feathers, it's a sign that your ancestors are speaking to you. And she was just so open about talking about magical elements. And I always felt very connected to that land and their rituals. And now I know 17% Scottish. So.
There you go.
That's a lot.
That's a good percentage.
A lot. Yeah. So
Mandy, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Mandy, I cut you off earlier about the 23andMe. Do you have any like surprises that or like, do you feel like you know like where your family kind of originated from? Or is this going to be an open world?
It's going to be a totally open world. I feel like there's some, I feel like there are a couple surprises in there, honestly. That's just why nobody knows. Like my maiden name, Heinzelmann, is, it's German, but they say it comes from a little town and Heinzelmann means little elves that clean. I'm like, I would like to find out if this is true or not.
That's amazing.
Other side, my grandpa looks super Italian. I don't think nobody really knows. Like, I'm so excited to actually find out. And I like that they do the health things too, because I want to know, it tells you like what you're predisposed to, what you're not.
You could do the BRAC thing where it's like you have to consent. Like I understand like this isn't going to be completely accurate, but it is cool to be like, okay, cool. Like this is something I don't have to really keep an eye out for like extra, but yeah, you'll get some surprises too. I can feel it.
It's so exciting. It's such a cool thing knowing your lineage.
Yeah, and I like what you said about it too. Ashley, you were hitting on that about sort of like knowing where you're coming from and knowing the truth about yourself and sort of paying your dues where you need to like figure out.
Yes. Yeah, that's where our power is in the knowing of self.
I have a feeling you're going to have some knowledge to drop on this, but I heard a wise person once say that one part of your life isn't more important than another part. You know how people think like, oh, after I graduate college or after I have kids or after this, that's like when my life starts. Or also not being like, we were talking a little bit about parts of your past that you're like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe that I would take the train from New York to Philly at 3:00 in the morning. Like, why did I do that? Like, we all have crazy things that we've done that sort of like deliver us to where we are.
Yes.
So what do you think about that? Is one part of your life more important, or is it all just here to?
Oh, the most important is the present. And I think that the more that we can be in the present is, my God, and the more that we can validate for everyone that their present is meaningful and valid, that is so important, right? Even for kids. I mean, I know you're a mom, Mandy. And I think that that's really important, when I work with younger clients, that the issues of an 11-year-old versus the issues of a 21-year-old versus the issues of a 31-year-old look very different, right? But they are all so valid in that present moment. And it's so important to be able to just anchor in and to know, like, if I had this information younger, would that be helpful? Sure. But I think it was the coming to it that also allowed me to really just feel the importance of it in such a deep way. Yeah.
I love that. And speaking of your work, so like art therapy for dummies, you know, I think people kind of think that usually there's a kid painting a stick figure and that's it. But I assume reading, you know, especially based on the kind of the light conversations we've had, that there's art therapy looks like a lot of different things. So tell us a little bit about that work.
Sure. So art therapy is using the subconscious processing in combination with psychological theory, you know, just as any talk therapist, psychotherapist would do, but it's using a creative element, specifically art making, and maybe different materials depending on the client, to allow you to increase awareness, reduce anxiety, process your trauma. Sometimes, especially in trauma work, can be really triggering to have to constantly retell. Or to even go there in the beginning. And so this gives you the opportunity to allow your being to put something down on paper or to create a sculpture that brings it up and out, and it can be examined differently. And it's a release valve. It's a really, I believe in what I do so much because I have gone through my own therapy, right? I think any good therapist has been in a lot of their own therapy. I think it's very important that you know the process and you know yourself. But in that work, you know, like I said earlier, I've always gone to the creative process. So art therapy for me looks like I work primarily with adults. I work with a lot of people in life transitions, dealing with anxiety and depression, or people who have had a history of trauma. And I do a combination of talk therapy and a creative process. And I think the creative process also gives so much self-empowerment because it allows you to discover and you to be in an experience in the present moment that allows you to directly dialogue in a safe way with whatever it is that you're working through. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah. So I mean, so the medium. Yeah, I know that's like a very broad question. So like the medium could be painting or watercolor or sketching, but it could also take form in sculpture, or even writing, I assume.
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
Because I have a really deep love and a personal background in poetry and writing, I often combine. So it might be, I do a guided meditation followed by some art making, and then I give you some journal prompts to reflect upon that. And then we share in the space.
Wow.
And it's everywhere. You know, the field is everywhere. And I think you're right. Everyone kind of imagines a child doing the work.
Yeah.
But children already make a lot of art. They're there, they're open. For some reason, us as adults, we move away from that. And so it also really allows us to do some of that inner child work, you know, to get playful again, to remember that there's deep value in our creativity.
Yeah. I feel like that's a big part of it because kids, like my kids will bring home like 10 pieces of artwork a day.
Yeah.
And I feel like for us, it has to mean something. If it's not going to win some kind of prize or if we're not really an artist or we're not really a poet, that if no one's going to see it, then what value does it have? But like, value has to be with yourself, right?
Yeah. And this is the work, right? That I can actually have a space where this is valuable without judgment, without consumerism or monetary, you know, elements like into the mix, that I can just value my own time and my own expression in any way that it needs to come forward, right?
And your own experience, valuing your own experience.
Yes, imagine.
Yeah, I feel like that, like worthiness, that sort of came up for me. I don't know if this comes up for you, but like worthiness to like be loved when you're talking about like that you're an open person, but like being totally seen by somebody and totally feeling that worthiness of love or true friendship or whatever it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Ashley had a funny comment. Well, it's not funny. It's actually very touching where she was like, because this makes me think of you because we were very close when we were in our early 20s. So she said, she's like, I don't pine for ex-lovers. I pine for ex-friends. Not that we're ex-friends, but it's like those friendships, the ones that like really see you.
Yeah, there's never an ex that I'm like, I really miss that person. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the cutthroat San Antonio-ness in me. I'm like, they're gone, whatever, we're moved on. But ex-friends or like someone you've had a falling out with, those are like the ones that I'm like, I wonder what they're up to and I hope they're okay. And like our friendship didn't work out, but I wish them well. Like I don't hold any great animosity, I guess.
Yeah, or just like a growing apart that you're like, hey, I feel like that would probably work out in our adult life too,
Yeah.
Right.
Or it's like, like I wish them well and like we had a beautiful moment together, but like ex-lovers, forget about it.
Yeah. No thanks. I had a parade of ex-lovers in my dreams last night. I don't know why, but I woke up so pissed. Like people I haven't thought of in ages were just like popping up to say hello.
I wonder why.
I blame
That's interesting.
The moon. What do you blame it on?
the eclipse.
The eclipse. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
But I wonder too.
Oh, go on,
Mandy. I had a hit, and I don't know why. But okay, tell me if this resonates. But I feel like keeping that passion, like we think of like passion for like lovers, but like really like that passion is like in you and for your life or whatever. Like your passion has to be for your life. But maybe it like sort of parades itself as like has to be like a love like that, but it's not. Like
Right.
Yeah.
It's not. It's when I was first maybe able to feel like really sexual and in that place, or when I was really able to feel like seen or cared for or not cared for. Those certainly stick around. Right.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Trauma, right? When we have traumatic experiences with relationships, especially ones where we're bearing our heart, our body, our mind, all of those things, and we're made to feel like we're not enough in that space, my God, that can haunt us. We have to cut those cords, right? Moving forward, we have to really think about how can I reclaim myself back from that person. They live on.
And on the flip side, I was a total asshole to at least one of my exes, like total asshole. So it's like, okay, how am I a better person now from that? Don't do that again, you piece of shit. You were in your 20s and whatever, but don't be a dick.
Yes, accountability, absolutely. I can certainly, last night I woke up from the dream and I thought about how awful I was to this one certain person in our ending, and I was like, oh man, I just couldn't face hurting them, but in that process, I probably hurt them so much more. And you learn, and you hope that you can forgive yourself for that and that eventually they've learned something from that experience. I don't know.
They're also having that dream they're like it's a parading lovers.
Yes, totally.
I literally envisioned a parade, like trombone, like marching band of like, hey, how's it going?
How's it going? I remember you.
You again.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for coming on here. Where can we follow along in your life?
Of course. At The Dreamers Daily Tonic is my Instagram handle. I also have a website. My clinical practice website is NY Creative Therapies, but I do open up readings for the new year only. I only do paid tarot readings the first week of January. So if anyone's interested, they can DM me there. And other than that, I will be in the work that I love with my clients, but I also really, really love helping people start out the new year on a good foot.
Oh my gosh, I may be hitting you up for a reading. I want like a fresh reading for the new year.
You got it. Do a big, long, juicy one.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
You're so welcome. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Becky.
All right, well, give Rebecca Pappa a follow. That's the Dreamers Daily Tonic. Again, she's incredible. I'm going to be hitting her up for a reading. You got a reading from her.
I did, but I want another one. Really, I love how she just she really taps into you and helps you. She's soaks up your joy and power. She's yes, celebrates it along with you. That's inspiring to me. I want to be people.
I want to hear about your reading though, because I remember you were like, okay, I've got this friend. I want her to come on. She's amazing. And we were so excited. Then you had your reading and you said, and I quote, that you had chills.
Mm-hmm. She was like, normally you'd be lucky to get, not lucky, but like it would be surprising to get like 1 or 2 of these cards. She's like, and you've got 5. It was, and they all really spoke to me. I like how she uses it to sort of like tap into your intuition and like, how are you going to take this information in your life and sort of grow with it? And like, how can it help you to like be in your power and what you're going through in your life? It really hit hard.
Oh my God. I do love that. I'm excited. I'm going to hit her up for a January reading because, you know, it is kind of its own little therapeutic session too. We're like, okay, let's hear the things that I need to work on and how can I apply this? And I am a big manifestor. I really am. So, but I have to work on that second part that you always say, which I think is important, of manifest and letting it go and letting it be.
Yeah.
Not being obsessive.
I have something random to tell you.
Oh,
So Ashley and I we're writing a pilot, which I'm so excited about. We just like,
it just came out of nowhere. I feel like it just flowed out of us. We're like, and this, and this, and this.
yeah, it's so much fun. But so I was sitting by the Christmas tree and I don't normally sit in there. And I was like trying to plug stuff in. I hit my head really hard twice. I feel like this has something to do with the moon. It must. Like I literally I have a lump on my head from hitting it so hard.
God.
I never
No
do stuff like that.
concussions.
It's the moon. It's got to be the moon.
It's got to be the moon. Well, don't knock anything loose up there. You got to be careful. We need that brain. We need it.
Maybe the thing that I excuse me, I can't speak. I'm getting hungry. When I'm hungry, when my blood sugar dips, I stop making sense. Ashley knows this now. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I need something to eat. Maybe that's the part that I knocked loose, is the part where, you know, my blood sugar dips and I stop making sense. So that would be good.
I need more coffee. That's my, main pyramid.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much.
And
off about your coffee.
Keep up with Rebecca Pappa, the Dreamers Daily Tonic. Amazing. She is doing readings the first week of January. So get in there if you want to get a reading from her, which I got some chills talking to her about the numerology alone. I was like, whew.
I don't want to be like, let's go book ours first, but like, let's go book ours first before we end this episode. We love you guys. We do.
Follow us along. We do love you, our little bashers, and follow us along. Where are we these days?
We're mostly on YouTube. We got some really weird comments on YouTube, you guys. Like, I'm like, what? Not that we. We've gotten some weird comments, but that's okay.
We have some fucking body shamers and horrible ass people on there. So go follow us and out-comment those fuckers. Get rid of that pessimism.
We're like, yeah, we like our little cutie pies. Like, we're just trying to make you laugh. There's a new one on there that he's like, are you going to answer me? Like, I'm your biggest fan now. You going to answer me? I'm like,
no, we're not. We're not dogs. We don't jump when you say jump. So fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
Follow us along.
Follow along. We're here to make you laugh. You can find us at mashleycomedy.com, on Instagram at mashleycomedy. We're on the TikToky at mashleycomedy TikTok, and then YouTube. We're YouTube/C/mashleycomedy. So come follow along. We'd love to have you.
It's true. And we'll see you then, suckers.
See you
Just
then.
kidding. Love y'all.